What is going on, beautiful people of the world? Happy 12 days of gratitude. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is my favorite time of the year. The Thrive Forever Fit podcast turns into the 12 days of gratitude series, this time every single year. So from the 13th of December all the way through December the 24th, Christmas Eve, I will be launching a brand new episode with a special guest talking about the powers and awesomeness of gratitude. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you listen to all 12 episodes. I promise you, they will be amazing. They will be awesome. And I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas, an abundant holiday season. Whatever you're into, be into it. I'm into it with you. Love you. Enjoy the series. Here we go. Corey and Tony, my brothers, how you doing?
What's up, man?
Great, brother. How you doing?
Living the dream. Let me say this before we even start anything. I don't know if you guys have anybody in your life like this, but when I think of you two, it immediately puts a smile on my face. And so that's one of the main reasons you guys are here, is because I'm grateful for our friendship. I'm grateful for our connection. And I'm just grateful to have two really good dudes in my life. So thank you first and foremost for that.
Jay, dude, that absolutely means the world. Like a sincere thank you. And yeah, I mean, it's really cool because there's lots of people that we get to think of that just put a smile on our face, including you. I mean, I didn't want to say that because you're like, oh, just giving it back. But if you ask me at another time, that's absolutely the truth.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we truly appreciate you. We talk about you all the time, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
And just how not only how much we appreciate you, but just how cool of a guy you are, and how much, even though you don't have anything to do with our industry, but our industry needs you. You know what I mean? It's just it's so cool that to be able to just hang with you, be with you, talk with you, and truly appreciate you.
Yeah, and on Jay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna
go ahead, bud.
But I mean, even on that, it was like we actually got to meet in person.
Yeah.
So like, we've done time like via Zoom before, and that's really cool and stuff. You're like, hey, we think Jay's a cool dude, but since we actually got to spend like 3 days together, like days, like a lot of time together, dinner and everything else, like that, you see what a person's really worth when you're sitting next to them, and it was really mega cool to meet you and to meet your wife and to like bond, and it was like, oh yeah, we are just homies,
I felt the same way. Yeah, I think you're right. It's like, you have this connection via the screens, and you're like, I bet those are cool dudes, but it's a difference when you're like, you actually get to see somebody like over a period of days, and it's like, hey, they're the exact same as they are today as they were then and every day. And there's just I don't know, it's just this really cool like energy you get to share.
Can I don't know if I can do this. I'm gonna jump us into gratitude real quick, Jay, because
that's why we're here, baby. We're freestyling. You go.
This is absolutely the truth. When Tony and I were at Hair Love Retreat, we were the only guys out of 150 women there. Not the only guys, but there was 4 guys working. Tony and I were 2 of them, and then Sam Villa and Daniel was the other one. But it's funny because we were there and we felt like under the microscope a little bit. And that's a little bit overstated. Here's where I'm going with this. Okay. We were walking back, and I said, we were 6. That's it. We were 6 days in the desert, right? And everything that's truthful about you is coming out in those 6 days, right? Because there's no PR in struggle, and everybody was struggling, right?
Right.
So when we were there, I remember Tony and I, we were walking back to the tent, and I said, Tony, you know what I'm really grateful for? I'm really grateful that we built our brand on who we are. Like for 6 days, we didn't have to like fake the funk. We were just able to be. And if there's anything about authenticity and staying authentic, it gives you the freedom to just be.
100%. I've built my entire business and life around that, because you can't be phony. Like, people always ask, like, I'll have a client, and they'll like meet me in person, and then other clients who haven't met me will be like, what's he like? And they'll be like, he's the same dude you see, on Monday or Wednesday or Saturday in person, in his social media content and context and everything. Like, I luckily don't have the ability to be anything else. Like, I don't fake things. I can't fake things. Like, Lori will even tell you, she's like, she's like, your face says it all. She's like, somebody else say something, and you'll be like, what the? And you'll be like, you can't do that. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to not do that. Like, that's just who I am. So I totally get that. You guys, let me finish and say this. That's who you guys are. Like I said, when I met you guys in Austin, I'm like, it was like I'd known you my entire life. You know what I mean? You guys are just the real deal and genuine. And I love that about you too.
The only thing that would have made it a little bit better for us, or at least for me, if you would have went scooter riding with us.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah, we scooted all over Austin.
You know what's funny? I have never ridden one of those. For some strange reason, I've just never done it. It's not that I have this fear or aversion to it or whatever. I've just never done it, but they were everywhere and they look like a blast. Did you guys ride the stand-up ones or the sit-down ones, or which one?
Both, actually. We ended up doing both because we spent a lot of scooter time on there.
Yeah.
You know,
but
actually,
the stand-up ones were the best.
Yeah, because they were fast. You would think the sit-down ones were the fast ones, but it was the stand-up ones that were boogie woogie.
Oh wow, that would have been a blast. Now, did you guys just cruise them all over town?
All over
town. And I'll tell you this though, we were just in LA last weekend or a couple weekends ago, and they had the scooters there. No way I'm doing that in LA. You know,
you get run over. Yeah.
Exactly. Austin, like once you're downtown, and especially after like 5 or 6 o'clock, there's not a lot of cars on the road. But most importantly, there weren't potholes everywhere. Like I'm so scared to get in that scooter and then get, you know, pothole catapulted.
Oh yeah, because that tiny wheel is not going to handle an LA pothole for sure. You're done.
It'd have been like a cartoon. You see Corey flying up.
Hey, before we move on from the Austin thing, you guys stayed an extra day to go see the bats. Tell me about it.
Dude, that was dope. It was really, really cool.
We took the scooters down there.
Yeah, we took the scooters down. We went four-wheeling on the scooters, didn't we?
We sure did.
Dude, the bats are really cool. Like, they're kind of hard to see. I'm not going to lie. You kind of have to like see them through the shadows of it. At least the night we were there, it was that way. But it was like a flock of bats, but the flock didn't stop for like 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my
constant.
Yeah. My expectation is they were all going to leave at once and it was just going to like blacken the sky.
Yeah.
Blacken the already blackened sky. But it wasn't like that. It was like just a flock for like 45 minutes. You know, you couldn't even really see what direction, because you know how bats fly. They're directional. So it was really kind of hard to see if they were coming or going, but it was really cool, man.
But to that note, they said we were about a month behind where we should have seen it.
Okay.
And so when we were at the BTC show, that's when we should have seen it, because it would have been a little lighter, a little longer, and you know, it's at its prime in August, not September.
Gotcha.
Well, just awesome.
Yeah, you guys get to do some pretty cool stuff. So just for all the listeners that are listening that don't know who you are, so how did you guys come up with this concept of your day off podcast, you know, the whole hair industry thing? Like, how did it all like transform? Because you guys have got to be, let me preface this a little bit. So I was interviewed on a hairdresser show that you guys recommended. She interviewed me, Shelby.
Oh, Shelby, yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, and so she's so awesome. And she's like, hey, I talked to Corey and Tony. They were like, I got to have you on. And it's like, she was ranting and raving about you. And so she didn't even have to ask. As soon as she said she said you two, I'm like, I'll do it, whatever. Yeah, I don't know who you are, whatever. She is amazing, awesome, unbelievable. But you guys have created something so amazing inside of the hair industry. Just tell me a little bit about that. You got to be grateful for that opportunity and for what you guys have built.
So grateful. I'll let Corey start that off.
Yeah, I mean, real quick, the history of the podcast and where it came from is I was a really early adopter to podcasts. I started listening like 2008, 2009. I started off with Rogan and a couple other podcasts. A really, really early adopter. I grew up with Stern, and I grew up with, you know, like our local like shock jocks and stuff like that. And I always thought it was an interesting space, you know. Then when podcasts came up, I go, oh, I think I want to start a podcast, like everybody has said, right? But I couldn't figure out how we would talk about it in the industry. You know, how do we? Because up to that point, we were teaching color, and we were teaching angles, and how do you do that audibly? You know, I just couldn't figure it out. And then fast forward to 2017, I was at like an influencer event, and I saw how people were interacting with these influencers, and I go, oh, they're interested. Like they're interested in those people, not just how they cut hair or social media following. So at that point, I went to Tony within a couple of days and I said, Tony, I got this great idea. I want to start a podcast. And I pitched it to him like I wanted to be the Jimmy Fallon of the hair industry. I wanted to introduce these people. And Tony so rightfully so said that if we're going to do this, we have to bring heart and we have to bring soul into the conversation. And so before the podcast started, it changed, and he was dead on. That was the right angle. What I'm grateful for in that, or certainly early on, is, early on in the podcast, we were having conversations that the industry, they weren't having yet. We talked about mental health very early on. We talked about addiction very, very early on. And those conversations had never happened, at least that I'm aware of, in the industry. And now, man, when you look around at, like, certainly a lot of the people that we follow and a lot of things that are going on and what's trending in the industry is exactly, go to Clubhouse. Clubhouse is all about mental health and addiction within the industry. So, man, I take a little pride in I think we had a little teeny tiny thing to do with having that conversation, and whether the industry was ready to have the conversation or wasn't ready to have the conversation. I think we were one of the first ones that I certainly had ever heard.
Yeah. And to follow up with that, I mean, I'm so grateful that he chose me to hey, you want to start a podcast with me, and
I didn't have Jay in my life then.
Not too late. But I'm just grateful to have a friend to be able to do this with, and able to talk to so many awesome people, whether they're in the industry or not. So many other people that want to just elevate people and just elevate people in life, And so being able to be around people like that, hang out with people like that, and create friendships, with people like you, Jay, it's just, that's what, out of everything in this podcast has done for us, I think that has been, for me, the most amazing part of it is just to, hang out with people like you and just be able to call you a friend.
Yeah.
You said something earlier about, how I don't have, I'm not like I'm not a hairdresser. I'm not, a fixture in the industry, but like the industry in and of itself needs somebody like me. And I want to say thank you first and foremost for saying that. But I think I just started thinking when you guys were talking, it's like the world just needs more awesome humans, right? Like for whatever space that you're in, and how you guys brought something really unique to the industry that you both love, but from a different angle, right? Like talking about mental health and addiction and just different things. And then like, I've been on your show before and we've talked about mindset and we've talked about, how important that is and just creating a business and then doing all those things. And I think what I'm learning about myself and as I grow my own business and help other people do the same is that, it's the amazingness of the human that really matters more than the industry or more than, where they came from or more than what they get to talk about. So I think that's the central key. Because when I'm, like when we met in Austin, you know what I mean? Like I was definitely an outlier in that scenario, but never felt like it, right? I felt like I felt like I'd been with you guys and in that industry and with all those people forever, just because I think it's like when you start connecting with energy over everything else, that's really what matters. Which leads me to my next question. It's got to be pretty cool for you guys, two friends, to be able to have this business and work together and get to travel. And it's like, I always say, I'm at a stage of my life that all I want to do is work with my friends now. I want to work with people I love, people that make me laugh, people that make me smile, people that I get excited to do things with. And I said, if you can create a life like that, like I feel so lucky and blessed. And I know you guys probably feel the same way. So tell me about that. Tell me, what was it like to work with your best friend?
Wow. We've been together pretty much since high school.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
We went to hair school together. We worked in the same salon together. We split for a little bit and then we rejoined in the studio suite together. We started this podcast together. Our friends, our family are really good friends, our wives, our daughters.
Aren't you basically neighbors too? Don't you live like just down the block or around the corner?
Yeah. 10 minutes from each other.
Yeah.
In same school district. Kids went to the same school. It's been a true blessing. You know what I mean? And knowing that, no matter what happens, that person has your back. They have your best interest. Even if I'm having a bad day, I know Corey's going to either call me out or how can I help you? You know what I mean? So if it's going to be bad for me, he'll call me out and say, look, what's going on? Yeah. Or if it's just whatever it is, I know that, I can rely on him. And I couldn't imagine not having it. It's been there my whole life, You know what I mean? So it's so normal to me.
But even on that, I mean, yeah, it's been there, my whole life too. But even on that, like until we started the podcast, not until, I'm not gonna say that, that's a bad way to phrase it. When we started the podcast, it was a different depth that we can reach in a relationship and in a friendship, because so many times, and Tony and I, we were like this a little bit, but sometimes conversations are superficial. Sometimes conversations are like between guys is like, oh, what'd the football team do? Or my football team is better than your team, or my NASCAR team is better than your NASCAR team, and there's that. But like, I certainly when I go to parties and the guys are talking like that, first off, I can't really relate anymore because there's just so much going on, but we've been able to dig a lot deeper than that. And I'm very grateful for that, because I think a lot of men-to-men relationships end there.
Agreed. 100%.
I think they end with like making fun of each other, busting each other's ball, which is all good, and I'm fine with that. Or the scores, or Chevy over Ford, or whatever that tribalism is. We create our own tribals and then defend them. I'm just so glad that as men in our 50s, as leaders in our industry, I'm really glad that we've been able to reach a different level, a much deeper level than that. And which is funny, because like I said, Tony and I were never that way, except, I mean, we were always up for busting balls, but we've always had more than that too.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is just a totally different level. When you travel with people now, as men, we traveled a little bit when we were younger, but like to travel as men is different. Things that well,
you smell a whole lot more.
Yeah. Now our conversations are like, when are we going to bed?
Yeah.
This 8 o'clock is late.
I agree with 100% what you said. I think that's a really cool point to touch on as well, because as guys, and I'm at that place in space in my life as well, where I don't, I'm not really, and I say interested, I don't have a lot of those people that it's just about busting balls and what's the score and all that kind of stuff. Like I look for, like, Lori calls it either scuba diving or snorkeling, right? And most guys are like snorkelers, right? They never want to go, but they always want to make sure they can see the shore, and they never want to go depth and talk about real life stuff. And I think when you get to a place like that you two have, like, that's an unbelievably amazing connection. I was thinking about, like, just kind of like how we all have kind of come together as, through the Schedulicity guys, and Lori and I have known, Michael and Jerry and Jane and those guys for, over 10 years now. And Michael and I always have this conversation, he and I grew up in Texas, where it should be, we should be talking about, what offense, your college is running and blah, blah, blah. He and I are talking about the brain and metaphysics and neural pathways. And like, I look so forward to having just, conversations with him about awesome stuff, and I can give two shits what the score is, right? So when you get to that level, it makes life amazing.
Yeah. You brought up Schedulicity. We're so grateful for them.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Talking about a company that embraced our industry and has given so much to our industry through the ups and through COVID, the downs, and literally helped thousands of people to just be able to carry their business through COVID. I mean, talk about a team. That's, I'm so grateful that they're in our lives.
There's a connection. There's a weird, no, I shouldn't even say weird. There's an energy connection. Like, I don't know about you. I'll let you guys answer this. I feel like everybody I've met that has some association with with Schedulicity, I feel like you could put us all in a room and lock the door, and it would be the most amazing, fun time anybody has ever had. That everybody has such a pure, beautiful energy that it's unbelievable.
I mean, big shout out to Jerry and their HR department, because you're absolutely right. Like, you go in there and like everybody's the same, and I don't mean that like in a bad way, but everybody's like temperament is the same. They want to do what's best for you as the customer, and and when we get to visit there, we just have fun. You're right, they have fun. Yeah. And you've been to the office. I mean, how many dogs were in there?
Oh, I know, it's amazing. It's like, you don't know what to do. Should I be working or petting a puppy?
Right. Yes. The answer is yes.
Or both.
Both. Absolutely. Yeah. I think we're all so grateful and lucky to have, but for me, it's that connection, right? It's that amazing connection that I think awesome humans find within each other. And so that's what I mean. Like, just getting to know you two guys. I mean, I feel like schedulicity or not, if we were ever in the same town or whatever, I'm like, we're getting together for sure, right? It's because I just feel like there's just an internal love and good energy between, you know, everybody that they bring to the table. So what was it like, you know, before you guys started the podcast? Obviously you guys have been buds and been pals and everything like that. Did you guys work at separate shops, and were you just kind of connected randomly, or like how has it always been like that?
No, after hair school, we worked in the same salon for,
Oh, cool.
Yeah, 14 years.
Yeah, 14, 15 years. Then he left maybe 2-3 miles down the road. He went to another salon. I stayed where we were, and then I went about 8 or 9 years ago, went to a studio suite, and I was there for a couple of years, and then he finally took the plunge and he joined me over there.
Cool.
We've been together for about the last 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did this go down? Was it like one of you called the other, and they're like, hey man, you want to go learn how to cut hair? Like how'd you guys both go to school? You know what I mean? Like, if you known each other since high school.
We had a mutual friend that we looked, I don't know if we looked up to, but we really looked up to his lifestyle.
He had cute girlfriends, is what Tony's trying to say.
He was dating Miss Virginia. He was
Okay.
like, he had like convertibles. He was just, you know, he was just living the
He was everything cool in 1986, you know.
And he was a hairdresser. That's how that's what he did.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. He's a hairdresser. So, you know, I think we wanted to, at first, you know, as every, you know, 17-year-old boy wants, you want to emulate that, you know, and then, you know, certainly go to hair school. And after
he was in the Navy. I was down in Florida. And then he got out of the Navy. I came back up here, and he one day he said, let's go check out Graham Webb. And nobody was doing anything. So we all went over there and checked out Graham Webb, and the rest was history.
Yeah. How old were you guys at this stage, at this state?
I think I was 22. Yeah, I was 21, 22.
Yeah.
When that happened.
So just, I mean, how lucky do you feel that you've like found something that early that you've loved and been able to do for so long? Because I mean, if you think about it, most 21, 22, 23, 33-year-old dudes don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, I think if we're talking truth and we're being 100% real, I don't necessarily know that either one of us started school knowing that we would be doing it 30 years later. I think we were just, what can we get into right now that doesn't look like, you know, wasting our time or sitting on our butts? You know,
I meant in hindsight, like if you got to look back now and like holy shit, we got lucky, man. We actually did, you know, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, listen, at that point, anything that I could have made a living at, I would have been interested in, you know, that's more than like working at a gas station or, you know, make like, you know, I guess in those days about $5.50 an hour or something, you know, anything, maybe $4.25. But anyways, anything more than that, like it was cool with me. And I knew that, and you could see enough people making a living here that we could do it, especially in our area, because our areas.
Yeah. I just feel like I've been so blessed and so grateful again to be able to do all the things that I've been able to do in this industry. You know, even when I got out of hair school, I knew that I needed help. So I started working for this particular company, and it's a British company. They had like, it was a British company for the most part, you know, and at the time they had 3 shops, and I started working there and as an apprentice. And after 2 or 3 years, you know, he started to opening up other shops. And I said to him, I said, we need to create a culture. You know what I mean? If we all need to be kind of on the same page. And he goes, you know, well, go ahead and do it. And so, you know, I created or helped create this cutting program for this company that's still in effect today. So I've been so blessed and fortunate to be able to be a part of something like that grew so massive. And it was just, you know, I feel like I've always been in the right place at the right time in this industry. And it's just, I feel, you know, just blessed.
Well, you know, good things happen to good people, and, you know, opportunity is presented all the time. You just got to be ready for it. And you were ready to take that on. So yeah, I don't think there's any coincidences in that. That's pretty cool stuff though, to be able to get to do this kind of stuff. And something I thought about when you guys were talking is like, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound horrible. There's some people that just want to cut hair, right? I just want to go in, I want to do this, I want to color it, whatever. I want to go home and I don't want nothing to do with anything else. And then there's other people like you two who are like, hey, I cut hair, I color, I do this, I do that, or whatever, but I'm also I'm part of the industry, right? Like I'm part of something bigger than that little thing. And that's gotta fill both of you up, I would assume.
It's honestly, for me, is grateful isn't a strong enough word. It's just like mind blowing how the industry has responded to us.
Yeah.
So here we are, two guys at the last third of our careers. We're older gentlemen in an industry that's filled with young people. We're male, and the industry is 88% female.
Has it always been like that, Corey?
Number. It's probably
What do
like
you guys think it was when you started, and then what do you think it is now versus male to female ratio? Because I'm just inquisitive and curious. I would to guess.
I would say 90% women when we first started, and we're probably at about 80, 75, not even 75%, about 80%. Now, if we include the barber,
that's why we're merging the barbers with us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
We need more weight. So
but hairdressers alone, it'd be about 90% female, 10% or 10% male.
It's probably about 80. Yeah. I mean, but this is just guessing. I mean, I've worked at salon, and this is about the breakdown of it. So I mean, just the fact that we had those two things kind of moving against us, as far as what the audience looks like.
Yeah.
Just the fact that they've kind of accepted us and accepted what we're doing and accepted the conversations that we want to have. And we've been able to reach, we have a list. When we first started the podcast, we had a list of like, who would our dream top 20 be? And we've struck every name off that list except one. So, it's pretty awesome, man. It's been an incredible ride to think that this could happen, while you're 50, But like you said earlier, no way I'm ready at 30. There's no way I'm ready at 40. It had to happen when it happened because that was the right time for it to happen.
Yeah, I believe in that one wholeheartedly. Like you always look back and say, oh gosh, if I could have been doing this when I was 20. I mean, think about how successful I would be. I'm like, we were lucky to get out of our own way at that age, right? Just don't do anything catastrophic.
Yeah, it would have been catastrophic.
It would have been. It totally would have been.
Really?
That's cool though. Tony, what about you? Like what does it feel like for you to be part of the industry? I mean, in a bigger way, like, cause you guys do, you get to go speak and you take your podcast on the road and you interview people at trade shows and locations. You got to go to Elizabeth's Hair Love Retreat and, be a part of that. And, the whole 9 yards is a pretty cool thing. I mean, let me ask you this. I'll have two questions. That, and then did you have a vision for this? Was this like the vision when you started the podcast and started to be more involved in the industry, or is this just kind of like?
I think the vision evolves as we're growing. Our vision in the beginning was how cool would it be to have 10,000 listens by the end of year one?
Okay.
And we were on track in June. We were at 5,000.
We started in January, so about halfway through the year.
So we're on track in June, and then we went to premiere that year. This is 2018, and something happened at premiere because from June to December we ended up with 145,000 listens. Awesome. So we ended up at 150,000. So I don't think we didn't dream that, oh my God, let's
right.
You know what I mean? It just it all happened. We just wanted to give and what we could do in the industry. And I've always been like that in the sense of, Corey can tell you that, when my kids were little, we would go to Frederick Rescue Mission or Catholic Charities, and, we would go feed the homeless, or we would go do, we went down to Mississippi and put a roof on a house after Katrina. And so, to give back in that sense has always been, special. And so, if you look at it like that in the podcast, we're not giving back. We're not giving, but we're just kind of doing our part. You know what I mean? In an industry that there's, there's good, there's bad, there's struggle. I mean, you have all these. If we could touch all these points, and if somebody can grab something from that, you know what I mean? It's nothing special on our part. We're just doing our part.
Well, I would say you are giving back by doing the podcast, and I would say it is special. I mean, I know that's, you guys are way too humble to say that, but I just know just from talking to people that know you and just being in the Austin event and then, listening and, you guys are doing an amazing job. You're changing people's lives, and it's just a podcast, but it's not just a podcast, right? You're saying something every time you fire those mics up that is probably changing somebody's life that you'll never even know. You know what I mean? You'll never meet that person. You'll never hear from it. You'll never do any of that. Let me ask you both the same question. Do you ever, because you guys, like I said, you guys are both so humble. Do you ever just stop and like pause and look at everything you've created and everything you've done? And like, what's that feeling like when you do that?
I've got a little story for that.
Yeah.
So Tony and I, we've been invited to do some really cool things. Like you said, we got to go to Hair Love Retreat, which is in the middle of the Zion Desert, which is a remarkable place. We've been called up on stage in a few places, and we've sat in front of our idols at many places. And, we've had like, it's really cool when you meet like your idol or someone that you look up to, and the conversation isn't about hair.
Yeah.
Right. For us, that's really cool. Like, oh my gosh, this person, but now we're having just normal conversations. We're having like, hey, how are your kids? Or even a little deeper than that and stuff too. So that's pretty cool. However, when Tony and I get to do a really cool event, we're standing in front of a bunch of people, and I want to take that experience in. I lean over to Tony and I whisper in his ear, this podcast is a really, really bad idea. And it kind of brings
start laughing.
Yeah. And it kind of brings us back to like just a couple of years ago, we were just a couple of hairdressers working in the salon. Now we're in Zion National Park.
Pretty cool, man.
It brings it for me. Whenever I kind of kid like that, it's reminding Tony, this is the moment to take in.
Yeah.
Because this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's as humble of a story as I can tell you. I mean, I don't, you talk about humble and stuff. Yes, there's absolutely moments where you're just blown away. Sometimes it happens on a plane when we're flying out to someplace cool. Sometimes it happens while we're at the event. Sometimes while we're debriefing at the end of the day in the hotel room. You just kind of go, wow.
When we went to Yellowstone,
when we visited
Schedulicity, Jerry gave us his truck. Corey and I jumped in his truck and we drove down to Yellowstone. And as we're going through Yellowstone, we're looking around, it's like, it's him and I, and just absorbing it, and just he's squatting in front of some buffaloes. I'm taking a picture.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm waiting for one of the buffaloes to start charging them so I can put it up on TikTok. But
you better get video if it happens.
Yeah, but just stuff like that. It's like, without the podcast, him and I wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
And, we were talking about how age makes a difference. I think at 30 years old, we would have thought we were owed this. But at 50 years old, at 50 years old, I think we understand that we need to cherish this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I think I always have to ask Lori how old I am. I turned 47 in October, and I just have such an immense appreciation for what I get to do. Right. Like, I don't feel like I have to do anything anymore. And so whenever you start living life like that, like, I get to do this, like, I get to help people and talk to amazing people and do all this stuff. Like, I always tell people, the joke is like, oh, how do you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning? And it's like, I don't, because I get to, right? I don't have to. I'm not going to do anything I don't want to do. So there's a big difference in getting up at 3 a.m. because you want to, or because you have to. And so I feel blessed and lucky.
Reach. I love that. I love that.
You sure do look young.
I love that meme that it says, like, I get to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I get to do this. And it's such a small thing that you can do in your life about changing your perspective about things.
Yep.
I live in this. I don't know if we talked about this on the last podcast, but over the last about 10 years, I've tried to live in this world of gifting. So if I do for somebody, it's a gift. And that means that a small example of that is if I hold a door open for someone and they don't say thank you, if my expectation was that thank you, that I never opened the door as a gift. I only opened it as an investment.
It's the wrong reason.
And that's not why you do it. You do it as a gift to society.
We talked about that when I moved from Texas to Los Angeles. With Lori, we'd go to dinner, and in Texas, you just hold the door open. You're ingrained to it. You say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, that kind of thing. So we'd go to dinner in LA, and I would literally hold the door for 20 people, and no one would say thank you. And I told somebody from Texas that, I'm like, oh, I can't believe this. They will stop holding the door. And I'm like, I'm not going to stop holding the door. I'm not going to change who I am because somebody else doesn't want to say thank you. And that's not what it's about. It's about me doing the thing that I know that is what I'm supposed to do. And I still do that to this day. And I could care less if they say thank you or not. It's not about that.
Not about that. It's about, yeah.
Last question for both. Oh, go ahead, Tom. I mean, Corey, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was making a comment.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say last question for both of you. I mean, I think, the whole premise of the 12 days of gratitude is me having conversations like this with people that I love and that I'm grateful for, and that I get excited. Like I said, the first of the thing, when I think about somebody, if a smile comes to my face, like that's one of my definitions of gratitude. But I want you guys to both define it, because I'm a big believer in this as well. And you can tell me what you think. I think a lot of times we're given definitions of what things are supposed to be, but we don't really think of them in that terms. And so I'm big on making up my own definitions. I mean, I make up my own words, and it's a whole other subject. But what's your definition, or how would you describe gratitude? Whichever one of you wants to go first, because I want both of you to answer it.
Wow. I'm going to jump in here, and I'm going to sidebar the question just for a second.
Okay.
But if we're about to sign off, it's really super important that I share my gratitude towards my family, because I've created, meaning we've created space. We've created this for us. They were not participants in what we created, but they always get the worst bit of us. Right. Yeah. They get the worst side of us. They spend less time. They spend less time with us in our travel. And honestly, I'm just so grateful for them that they've been supportive of what we've been able to do. Cool. So listen, I mean, I think gratitude for me comes down to being able to gift, to be able to celebrate everybody else, and to celebrate the people in our lives. I think if we spent more time celebrating the people in our lives and less time, looking for reasons to complain about them, I think we all have easier lives, because whenever you put that stuff in the energy, even if it's like, ooh, her shoes are nasty, when you put that stuff in the energy, that takes effort to get past that. As opposed to just either ignoring that her shoes were terrible, or, truly appreciating who that person is. I don't know, did I sidestep it? I think I did.
And someone's shoes are terrible. I mean, I have bad taste anyway. So, you know what I mean? So for me, gratitude, grateful, thankful, blessed. I'm so grateful in the sense of what it means to me is that I've been able to pick and choose how to, and you said this earlier, how to live, how to think, I don't have to live in that space Corey just mentioned about, right? I'm so grateful that I don't have to worry about being in that space. I'm so grateful that, our family wants to be with us. My son's 20, and, he goes to the University of Maryland. He's like, Dad, we're going to binge watch Vinland tonight. I was like, you got it, son. He wants to hang out with me. Cool. I'm grateful that my daughter and my son-in-law, they want to be with me. And, she has a 1-year-old son. I'm grateful that when he sees me, he wants to be with me. I'm grateful that my wife wants to be with me. You know what I mean? So I have so many things in my life that, if I go negative, or if I go somewhere, it's not fair for them. And it doesn't do me any good. So I'm just so grateful that in my head that I'm allowed to live in a very positive and a very loving, giving space. And so I just, again, I use the word blessed, but grateful is just
all the same.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I am uber grateful for both of you guys. And just so you know, I have a list it's called my yes list. And if you're on that list, the answer is always yes. It doesn't matter what the question is. You don't even have to say, hey, I need a favor or whatever. Anything you guys ask of me, the answer is always yes.
All right. So we do have a question for you.
Yeah, let's go.
Yep.
Corey's like, we do. You sure we do?
Oh, yeah. You got one. Yeah. But we already know the answer is yes.
Right. Yeah.
All right, tell me, what is it?
I mean, with the podcast, we want to invite you back, and we want you to be our January talker. We want you to be the one that brings kicks us into the new year. And last year we did a podcast about New Year's solutions.
Yep.
And I just think we'd like to kick 2022 into the butt, and we can't think of anybody better kick the butt of 2022 before
I've got the perfect thing to talk about that we all need to implement this in our lives in 2022. You're going to love it. And the answer is absolutely yes, 100%.
All right, awesome. Thanks
All
for
right.
that reminder, Tony.
Yeah.
Too easy. Absolutely. Yeah. But like I said, I wasn't kidding. Anything yes is the answer. You guys are amazing. Love both of you. You guys are just the coolest dudes on the planet. So thanks for being on the show again. And I appreciate you guys.
See you, Jay.
Much
Thank
love, brother. And give your wife a hug for us and tell her hello for us, please.
I will. Love you guys.
Love you, Jay.
See you guys. Bye.